Zohran Mamdani's appearance on The View, where someone we know, Alyssa Farah, asked a decent question of Inez's millennial king. This is S9.
So Zohran, back in 2020, you called for defunding the police, something you've since walked back. You also called the NYPD racist, anti-queer, and a threat to public safety in 2020, but now agree they deserve an apology. You initially refused to denounce highly charged rhetoric related to Israel, then later said you would discourage its use. How can New Yorkers trust you and not be concerned that consultants are getting in your ear to get you elected, but you still hold all of those positions?
Well, they can rest assured that it isn't consultants in my ear.
And can I ask, have you formally apologized to the NYPD?
These are conversations that I'm having individually with officers. And I've appreciated that because it's through those conversations with rank and file officers that I've learned more about the difficulties of this job.
Okay, I mean, I don't need him to apologize to the NYPD because somebody who tweets that queer liberation is defunding the police is not probably undergoing a sincere evolution on the question of NYPD. But Inez, you are After Party's New York correspondent. I guess we haven't announced that yet, but here it is. Add that to your fancy business
He's
card.
My king. I'm a New York correspondent.
Yes, yes. Tell us, is he going to pull it off, basically, while walking this tightrope?
I think he's going to get elected. I don't think that he's pulling off his tightrope very well. It's very obvious that even in this, he can't bring himself to actually walk back any of his comments. That's what the headlines are, because the media wants that to be true, because they know that it's additionally good for his campaign, just like moderate Democrats know that that is good for his campaign, to the extent that we just discussed in the last segment, those moderate Democrats actually exist at all. They do know that this is bad to say in public, but no, he hasn't walked back anything. Just 2 or 3 days ago, he refused to disavow a DSA tweet about Assata Shakur, who was a famous cop killer, right? So he's continuing. By the way, she didn't just kill one cop. She also threw grenades into a cop car, successfully set it on fire. She was involved in another officer shooting. Like it was a long history of trying to kill cops, which was
of liberation.
This was the Black Liberation Army. They had as one of their goals was kill the cops. So this was not like a one-off incident, the way that all of the glowing New York Times profiles and we can talk about political violence, which will be an interesting topic in that sort of context. But specifically with regard to law enforcement, nobody is actually fooled by this. The reason he has to even try to sort of dissemble around his views is because there is basically one route to beating him. And that's the fact that over and over again in polls, New Yorkers say this is their top issue and that they're worried about Mamdani on this issue. They like everything else, all the socialism, all the, I'm not rosy-eyed about my fellow New York voters or imagine that they're, even common sense, let alone actually right of center, right? This is a deep blue city, but they are concerned about crime. And that's why he keeps getting asked these questions. That's why he's trying to avoid these questions, because I'm pretty sure those consultants he says are not whispering in his ear. They're saying this is the one thing that can bring you down. Actually, this is the one issue where you're weak. This is the one issue where New York voters are not sure about you. And it's because of all the crazy stuff that you've been saying for years and years and have now just not even really disavowed so much as just pretend don't exist. It's very much the Kamala. I've already forgotten how to pronounce her name. Kamala Harris model, right? You don't actually disavow, you just pretend you never said anything and the media goes along with it.
Well, Rachel, pick up on that point, because Assata Shakur was also celebrated by the Chicago's Teachers Union in the last several days upon the news of Assata Shakur's passing. So it's not just, like we were talking in the last segment about trans issues, but it's actually not just trans issues. It's also going to continue to be a problem for Dems on race and policing. And I would argue especially millennial Dems, who for 5 to 10 years got sucked into a lot of virtue signal ideological posturing on social media that's going to be hard to run away from, and that they may actually not even want to run away from because it's part of their worldview.
No, it is. And I watched that whole exchange between Mamdani and Alyssa, and what really set my teeth on edge, and I think makes this point in particular, is the fact that when he opens his answer on the NYPD by referencing Michael Brown, Sean Bell, and Eric Garner, 3 people who were part of very high-profile alleged police brutality cases, which were all proven to be false. All 3 of those cases were investigated by DOJ civil rights offices across Democratic and Republican administrations, and the officers were found not to be liable. They did not violate civil rights. famously, in the case of Michael Brown, it was Obama's DOJ who said not only was the officer behaving appropriately, but Michael Brown was the aggressor in that case. And then in the Sean Bell case, you had the officers charged and then acquitted in state court. With Eric Garner, a grand jury failed to indict because, again, they found that he was resisting arrest and the officer did what he was trained to do. But by continuing and perpetuating the myth that this was somehow, these cases were the fault of the NYPD, and that there is, building this empirical case somehow, that there is an epidemic still of race-based violence and policing at the NYPD, he is continuing to, again, stoke this race war and this race narrative. This is not moderation. This is perpetuating a lie.
Well, and I just, to that last point that you made, Rachel, the narratives were that these were killings based on racism.
Correct.
And that is particularly, I think you can have a decent argument about the training of the police and whether that was, we could go into all of that and have conversations about what happened in the lead up.
Well, and they did do
right.
that after Eric Garner died.
Right.
They changed how the police were trained as a result of that, which may have been the appropriate thing to do.
Right. But this idea that there were racist police officers involved in every single one of those cases that has, I think, pretty thoroughly been debunked. And in the case of Michael Brown, which is arguably up there with Trayvon Martin and George Floyd, but that was one of that led to years of discord in many, many cities. I've mentioned this before. It's really hard to go to sleep after the show. Maybe Rachel and Inez are going to experience that right now. After you have all of the adrenaline of a live broadcast, falling asleep is difficult when you wrap at 11. And I really mean this, though. Those Cozy Earth bamboo sheets, I look forward to sleeping. It makes it much easier for me to jump into bed after the show. Cozy Earth bamboo sheets and bubble cuddle blanket are fantastic. You get excited to jump into bed even after the high of partying with Rachel and Inez, at least virtually. These bamboo sheets are next level, buttery soft, breathable, and they keep you cool all night. You'll sleep a few degrees cooler and wake up genuinely refreshed. And the bubble cuddle blanket is like a warm, luxurious hug, mid-weight plush faux fur, equal parts nap-worthy and stylish. There's a reason Cozy Earth offers a 100-night sleep trial and a 10-year warranty. That says it all. They know you'll fall in love. So visit CozyEarth.com. Use my code Emily for 20% off. That's CozyEarth.com, code Emily. And if you get a post-purchase survey, let them know you heard about Cozy Earth from After Party with Emily Jashinsky, because home is not just where you live, it's how you feel. Let's go home with Cozy Earth.